Hello. I haven't seen anybody pop up. Well, what's good, everyone? Welcome to another stream. I don't expect that I'm going to be very long talking about this. I just wanted to come in really quickly and talk about the short novella that is based on James Holden. Hey, Santavia, welcome. Thank you for coming through. So I just want to touch real briefly about what the novella is about, and it kind of just gives a little bit of insight as to James Holden and what he was doing before we see him in the main series on board the Canterbury. And this particular novella takes place 8 years before that time period. And at the time, he was in the Navy as a lieutenant, as a young lieutenant. And he pretty much, like we see him now, he had a chip on his shoulder, you know, a young guy with a chip on his shoulder, but he was still, you know, felt the need that he had to save everyone, be everyone's, like, defend everyone. Hey, what's up, Forrest? Hey, AK. He felt like he needed to be everyone's savior. So this particular novella kind of gives us a little bit of an insight into who James Holden was 8 years before he joined the Canterbury. And it starts off with basically him talking about, you know, him being in uniform and how he was, you know, he is his uniform, basically. Now, when we meet him on the Canterbury in the main show series, this is not in the books because I haven't read the main book series yet, but I'm just going off of on the show. But I'm told that the show pretty much follows fairly closely to the books. So when we first meet him on the Canterbury, he is I believe he's a commander or something like that on the Canterbury. And, you know, he is in a relationship with someone at the time. Before that, when he was a young lieutenant, he was on board a ship. It starts off with him and another group of his, you know, of his peers are being scolded by the commanding officer. And apparently they played a practical joke. Like one of them actually played a practical joke on the captain. I guess he opened up a hatch and some food or something fell on him. And he's pretty much scolding the person that was responsible. And so he punishes the person that's responsible by telling him that he has to scrub the whole ship while everybody else is on shore leave. So Holden goes to the commanding officer of the commanding officer of the ship, actually, whose name is Commander Maslow, and she is in charge of the Zhang Fei, which is the ship that they are stationed the ship that they are stationed aboard. So he goes to her and basically is pleading the case for his peer, his fellow lieutenant, saying, you know, he thinks that the punishment is harsh. And she basically tells him, listen, that the commander was within his right to punish him for his, you know, insubordination. And, you know, and kind of teases him, talking about how he's always rooting for the underdog. But she's not going to undermine, you know, the decision that was made by the commander, and told him that he was free to join his shipmate in cleaning the ship. So he responds by saying, well, I guess the ship will get cleaned twice as fast. So we later find him, he's working out boxing, and then the commander comes up to him and says, I heard you went telling on me about how I punished your peer. Oh, what's up with that? And he's like, well, yeah, I did. You know what I mean? And you can see he has an attitude, right? James has this attitude, like he has this chip on his shoulder. You can see that he has an attitude. And so the commander said, listen, I am the commanding officer. You just have to follow what I tell you to do. You have to obey orders. And if you have any issues about anything, any punishments or any orders that I give, you need to come directly to me. Don't go over my head. Is that understood? And he responds in the affirmative. So and then the next scene we get to is they're all in the chow hall, and they're eating, and then they're joking around and laughing about the joke that they played on the commander at the commander. And the guy who was the one that actually committed the act was saying how Holden was a good friend because he decided to do hard time with him. And somebody else makes a joke saying the only reason why he's doing the punishment with you is because he couldn't sleep his way out of it, which I find very telling. But anyway, so, and while they're down there, they hear, there's a distress call, right? Hey, Danny. Hey, House. Hey, DJ. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So they hear a distress call. So everybody mans their station, and Holden happens to be on the bridge with both the commanders. And so the commander is hailing the ship and telling them that they need to acknowledge her call, to give up their flight plan and to acknowledge their call. And the ship is silent, and so everybody's just like waiting for them to respond, but nobody responds. And so she hails again and tell them to respond, or else she'll be forced to take action. And so the other commander tells her, listen, we need to fight. Well, no, one of the people that yes, he was a thought before he got on the Rocinante. He was a thought on the Canterbury, but apparently he was a thought when he was a young lieutenant as well. So one of the sailors notices that there is an increased heat signature from the ship that they're hailing, and so the commander says to Commander Maslow, we should just fire on them because we don't know if they're not smuggling weapons. And Holden makes the remark, we can't just fire. We don't know if they have weapons. They may very well have people. We can't just fire. We don't know. We don't have any proof that they have any weapons. And I guess at the time they were still having issues with the OPA, with smuggling of weapons, and so they weren't sure what was happening. They wasn't sure if that was smuggled weapons or not, because they wouldn't respond to their hail. And so the commander says that they should fire, and then of course Holden is like, no, we shouldn't fire. And so the commander say, listen, I'm giving you a direct order to fire. So the other sailor puts a lock on the ship, and Holden is ordered to fire on the ship, and he refuses. He says no. And so the commander walks up to him and says, listen, I'm giving you a direct order. And he's like, no, there might be people on there. And so a confrontation ensues, and so Holden goes to punch the commander, but the commander did a Ali move and stepped left, and Holden ended up punching air, and then the commander came over with the right hook and caught Holden and punched him, and he fell to the ground. And he's like, listen, you are a danger to this ship, right? And of course, Holden, being a smartass, said that he was a danger to the entire system. And so he got dismissed from the bridge. And so the commander, in the end, the commander Maslow, ended up firing on the ship. And it just so happened that Holden was right. They weren't smuggling weapons. They were actually smuggling people. And most of the people on the ship ended up dying when they blew the ship up, because they ended up out in the atmospheres. But they were able to go in and save some of the survivors. So the next scene we get to is Commander Maslow and Holden having a conversation about why it is James joined the Navy. And he said that he just wanted to fight for what is right. And she says that, some of us join because we don't have anything better to do. Some of us join because, it's hereditary, like it's generational. She goes, I'm my uniform, so, that's all I know. That's all I am. And I know that, this is where I'm meant to be. And she basically tells him, listen, you're a smart guy and you have what it takes, but I don't think this is for you. You have a problem with authority and you have a problem with protocol. And, when we are on, this is the Navy, and we have to follow the rules and we have to obey orders. Yes, sometimes things don't always go the right way, but there's a reason why we have protocol, and there's a reason why we have orders, and they have to be obeyed. She goes, this time, you're right, it didn't work out that well, but we wouldn't have known that. It could have gone the other way. We never know, but we have to take action. And then, sometimes the action ends up for the good and sometimes it doesn't. And so the previous commander has said that he should have been court-martialed, which is true, for striking a superior officer. But the Captain Maslow said, listen, he missed, you didn't, so we'll just call it even. He goes, well, you're going to be leaving, and I can't have somebody on the ship that's not going to follow orders. And she said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. So in effect, she ended up dismissing him, basically discharging him. She got permission to discharge him, so she basically discharged him off the ship. So he basically got kicked out. And she told him, listen, you are smart, but this is not for you. Okay, this uniform, this place is not for you. Your talents are probably going to be best served elsewhere. And so, and at the same time, she's retiring also. So she's leaving and getting ready to move on to the next phase of her life, and turning over command to the other commander. And so this was actually her last official act, dismissing Holden. And so one of Holden's peers comes up to him and say, hey, I heard you got kicked out of the ship. He goes, and you're being sent home. And then he says he's not going home. And then you see him walking through a crowd. Meanwhile, the commander is getting ready to go back on Earth and move on with her life. And I found it quite telling, right? Because Holden, it seems that he's always been this type of person who has altruistic motives, but he also has a problem with authority. Like, he always tries to go against the grain. Like, he is what you would call very passionate about his beliefs, and what he thinks is right. But sometimes in that passion and in that belief of doing what is right, it kind of it kind of what word am I looking for? It doesn't really help the overall situation, right? Like, he could have followed orders, right? He could have followed orders, fired on the ship. Yes, people would have died anyway. The people ended up dying anyway, right? But they would have died. But a lot of times when you're in the military, you're often given orders that don't necessarily have a really good outcome, but that's like, sometimes some decisions are not yours to make. People who are given authority are given the authority to make those decisions, because they make those decisions because they're the ones that have to carry the accountability that goes with that decision. Like the fact that he would have fired on that ship, it wouldn't have been on him, or he would not have been held accountable, because that was not his judgment call. He could advise against it, right? He could say, he could have approached the situation differently. Instead of being combative and being and just being, what's the word I'm looking? I can't think of the word that I want to say, but he just was very combative in how he was trying to disagree. He could have approached it differently to say, permission to speak, and just give a more nuanced reason for why they shouldn't fire on the ship. And probably that whole scenario could have gone a lot differently, and maybe the captain would not have fired. And I'm not saying that him getting hot-headed would have changed the captain's decision or choice, but it probably may have swayed the captain into not firing. Yes, thank you, AK. He could have been a little bit more tactful about how he approached that. But again, and that was one of the things that I guess she recognized in him, and that he wasn't very, he has a lack of tact when he's passionate about something. Like when he is passionate about, and we saw that throughout, like if you watch The Expanse, you see that in his character. Like when he is zoned in on doing something and he thinks it's something that's right, like he has like tunnel vision. Like he doesn't see anything else. He doesn't want to hear anything else. He's just like laser focused on what he thinks is the right thing to do, and that's all he's focused on. He's not seeing the bigger picture. And I don't think he really starts to evolve that way, and evolve until as the seasons go on. But when you first meet him, he's very like, he has a lot of tunnel vision. And I find it it's quite funny, right? Because when we meet him on that first episode in season 1 on the Canterbury, he comes across the same situation where there is a distress call. And then the captain of the Canterbury says, yo, let's not answer it. Let's just let it ride. We're not going to deal with it. We're just going to let it go. But then he has a conversation with the girl that he is sleeping with, and that kind of sways him to go back in and log the distress call, which ends up having them leave the Canterbury in order to go and investigate. And I don't know if them leaving to go investigate is what saves him and the rest of the Rocinante crew's lives. I don't know if that would have caused them to lose their life. I don't think so, because they would have not been in the area. They would have been on their way already. So, and I think throughout the whole first season, he's carrying the guilt of the fact that had he not logged that distress call, the crew of the Canterbury would still be alive. And so this is again, bringing it back to what he did on the Zhang Fei when he was a young lieutenant. Like he didn't follow orders. Like he didn't do what his captain told him to do, and then, you know, something something kind of catastrophic kind of happens. Hey OTDA, hey Phil, hey Pink Diamond. Yeah, like something bad happens, right? Like so there is I find that all right, thank you for stopping in, Pink. There is a reason why there is a hierarchy and there is laws and rules that you have to follow within any organization. You don't have to agree with every decision that's made, and yes, you can disagree, right? But there's a way to go about showing your dissension in a way that's constructive. And I think that is James Holden's problem. Like he doesn't have a constructive way of showing dissension. And again, I use the word passionate because I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt. But to me, it's just like being very hot-headed. Like you're not really looking at the bigger picture, and you don't know how to use your words without being confrontational. And so that's basically the story of James Holden 8 years before we see him on the Canterbury. He was pretty much the same of a hothead as a young lieutenant who just, I mean, he's not a bad person. He's smart, and he wasn't wrong. I think he just didn't have the maturity to be able to be less confrontational and to express his thoughts and his dissension in a more constructive manner in order to probably sway the captain into making a different decision. And sometimes, like they say, you get more bees with honey than vinegar. And sometimes you just have to learn how to be tactful in how you approach, especially when you're talking to your superior officers. You have to be very tactful in how you approach them. You can't just talk to them any kind of way. You know what I mean? Because you undermine them when you do that. You are undermining their authority, especially when you do it in front of other subordinates. You're undermining their authority, and that only goes to make things a lot worse for you, not better for you. So, and that's about it. That's the novella in a nutshell. It was a very quick read. It wasn't like I said, it was done. It's a graphic novel. If you get a chance, true that. I've seen people get. I mean, yeah, like we used to get dropped a lot for being insubordinate. So yeah, don't nobody want to do 200 push-ups. Ain't nobody got time for 200. I have yet to see somebody complete 200 push-ups ever, ever. So that's basically it. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. But otherwise, that's all there is. If you do get the chance to download the book, I believe on iBooks it's $1.99. I don't know if it's available in any other format. I got it on iBooks, and it was $1.99 for it, which is relatively it's not that much, and it's a very quick read. You can read it in I don't know, maybe less than 10 minutes or maybe 10 minutes. But if you don't really have to get it, because I just basically told you pretty much what it's all about. So you don't even have to spend the $2 to get it if you don't want to, unless you want to have it as part of your iBook collection. It's a pretty nice little novel, and very well done. So yeah. Does anybody have any questions? I haven't really been looking at the chats to see if okay. AK said him being Captain Save-A-Ho is what got him into all the drama that his crew is. Yes, yes, exactly, 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 AK. Exactly. Yes. Like that commander like gave him such a right hook. It was like, and he, like, when you look at the panel of him getting ready to, like, he's getting ready to punch the commander, like he has like this smirk on his face, like, yeah, I'm about to lay you down. And the commander was like Ali, like swap, pow, like gave him like such a right hook. It was like, dude, he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. He just was not ready. He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. Do you think Holden was picked because he was the spawn of 8 people? That's a good question. From my understanding, he was meant to actually be the leader of their group on Earth. Like they, how can I liken him to? I almost want to liken him to Agent 47. I know this is like a really, really far reach. I'm reaching with this one, but just bear with me. Excuse me, let me drink some water because I'm hot. Sorry about that. They, it's like Agent 47, how they put all the, like how Agent 47 was created by using the DNA and the genetics of all of these people to make him like the super soldier. I think I that was kind of like what Holden was. He was like a he was the genetics of all these people. And so, and he was actually meant to be the leader of whatever colony that they had on Earth. But his mother didn't want that for him. So his mother actually helped him to escape. And so he left. But you know, it's kind of like your destiny is your destiny. And then we're gonna switch over from Agent 47 into like Witcher territory. Like your destiny is your destiny. Like Ciri was Geralt's destiny. Like Holden was destined for great things. And it just so happened that Holden's greatness was going to happen anyway. It probably just wasn't going to happen in the way that the people who created him thought it was. Like they probably thought they were creating him to be theirs, to be their destiny. But that's not where his ultimate destiny lied. His destiny actually lied like in the stratosphere. So that's a very interesting question because he ends up, you know what I mean? Like, why is it that he's the one that is chosen to be able to see Miller, right? Why is that? Was it because he was with Miller on Eros when all that stuff was going down? And it's because he has more familiarity with Miller? Is that why he was chosen? Like, it kind of begs the question, like, why is he the chosen? Why would he be the chosen one? Hey, Miss Duncan. Hey, Jay Sneed. Thank you so much for coming. Like, that's a very good question. It's like sometimes, you know, you are created for a purpose. And sometimes your purpose, you think you serve one purpose, but ultimately you end up, your purpose is, excuse me, something totally different. So it could be that he is like, quote unquote, the chosen one for some reason. And he does look really, really scarily similar to Jon Snow. Like he looks like Kit Harington. Like I was looking at when I was looking for a image of him, I kept seeing images of him and John and Kit Harington together. And it's like, oh my God, they look like eerily similar. James Holden, Jon Snow. I'm like, yeah, that's like so weird. Like they're both like eerily similar. They look alike. Like they could, you know what? They probably should have had James Holden play the young Ned Stark, or you know what I mean? They should have had him play the young Ned Stark because they all look alike. That's who they should have got to play the young Ned Stark when they had that whole fight scene with um at in Dorne at the Tower of Joy. You know what I mean? That's who they should have got because they're all supposed to, you know, he's supposed to be a carbon copy of Ned. So that probably would have been a better choice. But maybe he wasn't around, or they, you know, he wasn't well known, or he wasn't, you know, available or something. But that would have been a good younger version of Ned to play him. I don't know. Like it is no Phil, what I meant is the young Ned Stark. Remember, like in season 6, was it season 6 or season 7, when Bran and Bloodraven was going back in time through the weirwood net, and they saw the young Ned Stark at the Tower of Joy where he was fighting, and you know, with old boy with the double wheel, you know, Arthur Dane and stuff. I was saying the young Ned that they should have chosen was I think the actor's name is Stephen Strait. Yeah, they should have chosen him. Now, I totally agree. Like the older Ned, Sean Bean as Ned Stark was perfect. But the Tower of Joy flashback. Thank you, AK. I think they should have chosen Stephen Strait because they're supposed to look alike. That would have been perfect. I think that would have, but you know, that's just not over. But who knows? Anyway, that's neither here or there. They chose who they chose. And then we'll just go with that. But he looks like really weirdly, really like they could play twins in an upcoming movie. That's how similar they look. Like they look that similar. Like they could literally play twins or brothers in some show or movie or whatever. They could actually play twins. They look that much alike. Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with him in season 5. I still need to get to the books, but we still have all of the other novellas to go through. And the next novella that I'm going to talk about is going to be based on Naomi Nagata. And we're going to talk about her as the early crew member of basically her story about how she ended up on the Canterbury. So I should say that's going to be our next one that we're going to talk about. And again, they're really short. They're not really that long. So it won't really take me that long to get through that. So right now I'm just like, you know, shooting, just gabbing, whatnot. Yes, Major. They do have the same thing. Like if you Google James Holden and Jon Snow, and you see their pictures next to each other, they got like that same look. Like y'all are scary. That is kind of real scary. That's eerie. Wow. Like that dude could have stood in for Kit Harington if Kit Harington couldn't make it for like a season or an episode. Like he literally could have stood in for him. They look like they even look like they got the same hair, like the same curly hair. Like it's weird. It's like, you know what? They say everybody has a twin, so that might be his doppelganger. So I'm not going to stay too long. That was all that I had for today. Thank you so much for coming and spending a little time with me. I didn't want to, I'm not going to drag it out. It happened by accident. It happened by accident. It happened by accident. I was just looking for an image of James Holden, and I just happened to see both of their pictures together. Look, listen, it's not me. Blame the internet. Don't blame me. Blame the internet. And I'm sure there are memes. I'm sure there are some memes out there about those two. AK, I'm gonna need you to find all the memes. I'm gonna need you to find all the memes because you are the queen of memes for me. So yeah, I'm just saying they look alike. They look alike. Yeah. It was by accident. Honestly, truly, honestly. You must believe me. You must believe me. So, if you guys are available tomorrow on Nessie's channel, her Courtney and I are going to be doing an Avasarala Blinkfest where we're going to be talking all about Avasarala's wardrobe for in the Expanse. We're gonna be going on at 2 p.m. If you happen to be at work, and if you can, maybe you can tune in and just listen while we gab, or just drop in and drop a like on the video. I believe her channel is the Unspun Yarn. But if you get a chance tomorrow at 2 p.m., make sure you come and check us out as we talk about Avasarala's wardrobe in the Expanse, which I'm really excited about because her wardrobe was freaking epic. The costume designer, I believe, did an excellent job with her wardrobe, and we're gonna get more into it. So hopefully you can come and join us as we geek over that. Again, it's going to be tomorrow at 2 p.m. on Nessie's channel, and I believe her channel is called The Unspun Yarn. And that's all I've got for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. I gotta go work out because I love to eat, and apparently food doesn't like to leave my body, so I have to force it through physical activity. So thank you, AK. Yeah. I did not Google side-by-side nudes of John. Oh, no. That is not what it... Look, Phil, don't tell stories. Don't tell stories. I did not. I said you can Google James Holden and Jon Snow, and you'll see side-by-side pictures. You got me out here. You got people out here thinking that I'm Googling naked pictures. Hey, Spots. Yeah, I gotta work out because I love to eat. I am a huge foodie. And I've found as I've gotten older, as I've gotten older, I can't drop the pounds as quickly as I used to when I was younger. So, a girl gotta. Oh, and check out my t-shirt. If you ever make a mistake in life, let's make them birds. Yeah, they're birds now. R.I.P. Mr. Ross. Oh my God. I know. I'm not helping my cause much, am I? All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Again, enjoy the rest of your evening. Don't forget about tomorrow at 2 p.m. Please be sure you stop in, drop a like, and if you can listen while you work, listen, or if you can just, um, you know, participate. We'd love to have you. And have a good night.